Welcome at Designers for Lunch, the Dutch Design Week edition. We're now live from Eindhoven, and I'm here to welcome you for the first edition of this week's Designers for Lunch. Every day we're going to host this event at 1 o'clock, every day with a different designer from the Isola design community. Today we're starting the week off with Maria Pita Guerreiro. She recently graduated with her project Mycelium Millennium. Welcome, Maria.
Hello. I'm very happy to be here and to be the first one of the designers for lunch, and happy to meet you and to share my talk about my project, Mycelium Millennium. That was, my thesis from Konstfack University here in Stockholm. So,
Yeah, thank you. It's good. It's good to have you here today, and you are still in Stockholm.
Yes. I decided to stay here now after my graduation to maybe see what happens, what opportunities can lead my project.
Yeah. Well, starting with your project, the first thing that I noticed is that they kind of have an ancient book. It's a new biomaterial that you made, but there's some shapes you can recognize that are a bit more ancient, but they're also very much natural shapes that you made. So can you tell me a bit more about the form giving of your project, and maybe I can start a video for you so that everyone can also see the product that we're talking about.
Yes. So the textures that we see here, that they have a bit of brown stains, it is their natural fungal texture that has to do with a specific fungi that I used, fungi species, shiitake. There was a collaboration with a mushroom farm here in Sweden, Saxtorp Swamp. And my goal was a bit to push forward this antique looks that they have, to talk a bit about the long lifespan of biomaterials and their longevity and resilience, and what does it mean to have a new material to become our new heritage. And later on, I crafted the some parts of the objects, because I wanted to talk a bit about more aesthetics and their cultural acceptance into the new consumer.
Do you think that the consumer would be ready for a product made from fungi? What do you think about that? Did you have already some response to it?
I think it's getting ready, but it still has a path to normalize the biomaterials. I guess to use materials that come from biological resources is still a way to change everyone's perception, because we're used to something else. So it's of course.
Yeah, and I think also it's up to you to educate people that even though it's a biomaterial, it can also last for a very long time, because that's also one of the qualities of the material that you just told us. If I buy a candle holder from you, how long would it last if I put it on my table?
Actually, I don't know the exact time, but my research was a bit to talk about the impact of what does it mean to have biomaterials, objects made from fungi that could last a long time, because a majority of projects made with fungi or other biological sources are more focused on packaging or food containers that are disposable, which is of course very interesting, but I want to focus a bit on the fact that they could last a long time and past generations even, maybe.
Okay. So that would already be way more than 10 years for a candle holder, luckily.
Exactly. Yes, I think there's a lot of research and documentation about this, even to use on architecture. So of course it has to last a long time.
And were you able to also look at different material qualities, or did you create some, or did you find out about some?
So I think fungi material, mycelium, can have many material qualities, but in my research or what I could achieve, I decided to focus a bit on that. So I made the objects, their function has a purpose and it's focused on their qualities. So for example, as you mentioned, the candle holders, because the material can be very fire resistant, so it can burn for a longer period of time, like a bit like cork. So I also crafted it at the end. So I actually burned the texture to make it look darker. It's a wood technique that you make it to last longer. So it was a bit to push forward this quality and in the function and in the outside view and a bit everywhere.
So you first came up with candle holder. Are there any other functional products that you're already thinking of based on the qualities of the material?
Um, I developed also some food containers or stands that was a bit to talk about their antibacterial properties and heat isolating. So I did, for example, some fruit stands or something like this, and I tried to also work on water resistance. So I made some flower vases and yeah, some contain. So every object would try to translate the quality, kind of.
Cool. And is it a project you work on just by yourself, or do you also have a team that you work with or collaborations?
I worked by myself, but I collaborated with. I think along the way in my time in Konstfack University, I met a lot of people related to mushroom research and in medicine and in materials and the farm and a bit everything, and also a lot of people connected with biomimicry. So I think it was, of course, a gathering of a lot of information, not only from myself, but
Uh,
a
and
collection
it's really
of.
nice to see that you did both the research, but that you also managed to make a functional product that you can even sell.
Mhm.
But what was it like for you to graduate in 2020? Because I can imagine it might be a little bit more difficult to also create something and make a product with a bit of limitations that there are this year.
Yes, I think that every 2020 graduate shared this situation or however. I think that of course, my school at the time, Konstfact, went also on a lockdown, and of course, in terms of graduation, it's very different to have guidance from teachers from distance, and of course, all the events were cancelled. And as, for example, now the Dutch Design Week, which of course is a very important platform to meet people, to have the visibility, to have feedback on the project, like one to one. But of course, I think everyone is reframing their way to reach the public into a digital content and how to
Yeah.
rethink all of this. And I think it's very important and to support the whole design community.
Yeah, yeah, that must be really different if you're missing out on your graduation show and have people coming by and start to work on your network in that way.
Exactly.
So it's good you're on board today. You already started selling your product this week. I think you launched it at the Milan Design Market.
Yes, I'm very happy for this opportunity to actually rethink also the project into a more product consumer focus. And also, I'm part of their virtual space exhibition, besides Isola material exhibition too, which is I'm very, very happy for this opportunity, of course. And to I think it's gonna be a great feedback and to see how will the project actually work um, to be on a selling format. I
Uh,
think that's
I hope you'll make the first sale soon. Do you already have one of the candle holders at home?
Yes, I have a lot of candle holders and other objects. I also have a lot of failures along the way that now I consider them my little sculptures, and which was part of learning process. So of course I'm surrounded by many, many, many fun pieces.
And they don't start to smell like shiitake after a while?
No, they actually. I think this was one of the concerns about the smell because it comes from a organism that is also food, mushrooms. So I think I realized that this was a bit of a concern that objects could have a little bit of a smell, but when they're crafted and treated after, so when they are converted into a material, they actually have no smell.
Oh.
And
And how about the touch? Because you treat them, become they more stone-like, or are they still a little bit soft, or how was the texture like if you lift them up?
the texture is actually very smooth, a bit like I could compare with maybe with a leather or something, and they're very
Oh.
light, a bit like cork. I think a lot of their qualities, material qualities, are similar to cork, and so it made me think a lot in these terms. Yeah, I try to think about how could this material relate to other things that we already know. So a bit,
Oh.
I crafted a bit thinking on ceramics and
Yeah, because it looks a bit more like ceramic that's glazed. It feels a bit more like cork. So
exactly.
that might make it easier for people to understand that it's a biomaterial, but it still has the same looks and the same properties.
Exactly. So I wanted this connection on purpose because this makes it a bit more familiar and recognizable, and it's more friendly for the user and what is gonna
Yeah.
expect from this.
So, and you moved to Stockholm for your education, and you were raised in Portugal. So that's quite two different cultures from south of Europe till the north of Europe. Is that reflecting in your work? Can you see it in your projects? Is the blend, or is it a bit separate, or how does it work for you?
I think for sure Sweden has impact my design practice now a bit, maybe rethinking my sustainable values and everything. But I think even before I always had the concerns about what it meant to be a creator or a designer. What does it mean to introduce new things and new objects to the to a world that we have a lot of access. So I always try that, make sure that they have a purpose, they have a story, they illustrate something. And yeah, I think I've been working, now I live here, but I always have a feet, let's say the translation, in Portugal still, that I work with a studio that I have together there with a friend called
Oh,
Jean, and yeah, so I try to do a bit both ways even though I'm here.
yeah. And what's an example of a project you worked on with your friend in Portugal?
We now collaborate mainly with a brand called Vicara. That is, so the projects are more focused on Portuguese craftsmanship,
Oh,
and so we had also a ceramic studio there that was a bit more also on the custom orders to some shops, and that it was a, it's always, I think I like to work in this um, craft way, that it means that products are not done in a fast speed, but more that they take time to grow and appear and think. And so the consumer also hopefully thinks about this, that it's
yeah.
a lot of time and care there.
Also like the time for the biomaterial to be developed and to grow. And
Exactly. This
so
is the
that's a bit
same.
similar.
Exactly. This is the same, but I think even longer
Yeah.
because it actually needs time to grow.
So you took some craft skills from Portugal to Stockholm. Do you think you will also take the biomaterial to Portugal? Or
Exactly.
will they be, do you think they will already be ready for you, or do you need to learn about biomaterial there? how's it going in Portugal with biomaterials?
I think it's very different from here in Sweden, I guess. I think hopefully it will grow, and I mean that's why these projects are necessary a bit everywhere. I think not all the consumers are ready for biological resource materials made from fungi or algae or all these kind of things. But I
Yeah,
think this is the way that the future is gonna go. So we have to all design and make sure that everyone will be ready.
yeah. And it's also quite interesting because a lot of people they buy mushrooms and shiitake at the supermarket,
Exactly.
but you're not used yet that you can buy it at the design gallery or in an interior shop.
Yeah, I think I chose also a species that was connected, like a known species, because of this too, because it's easy to work with. It doesn't have many requirements for temperature or humidity or all these kind of things to grow. So, and it's also something that we recognize, and
Yeah.
hopefully it's not a mix between we eat and we consume. We
So
have
that
a
they
lot.
recognize it first, and then finally they will buy it and get some nice candle holders at home.
Exactly.
And the coming months, so you will still be working on the project, or what are you up to the coming time?
Yes, now I'm trying to establish a bit here in Stockholm, so to create my own space and to continue my research in the materials. And now a bit, I'm trying to focus a bit more because of the initiative of Milan Design Market, also to rethink my project in a more commercial terms and how to develop quantity and all of these other concerns
Yeah,
that are very important too. Um, yeah, but I'm trying to continue everything, of course.
yeah. So there's some nice challenges, but also nice that after the thesis you can still continue with it and make stuff and make products.
Exactly, exactly. I think it's very important to have some space after the graduation to then reevaluate also what we did and then to kind of twist it also somehow. It's
Yeah,
nice to have some time to rethink about what we our work also.
exactly. So it's nice to have had the introduction of your work and to see your first products that are really looking beautiful.
Thank
So
you.
we're looking forward to see what else is coming, and we will keep you on our radar.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much for the participation in this interview and in all the exhibitions and all the great work that the Isola team is doing, also to support the design community in this crazy world, even if the actual physical event was canceled. But I think
Yeah,
we have to be more empowered by the digital, I guess.
yeah, more empowerment and really build a design community to show all the work that
Exactly.
has been made. Thank you
Exactly.
very much. We will have a look at your digital exhibition and the virtual exhibition at Milan Design Market. It was
Thank
nice to
you.
talk to you and enjoy
Very
the day in Stockholm.
much you. And yes, let's talk soon.
Thank you. Ciao.
Thank you. Bye bye.
And thank everyone for watching. Tomorrow it's Lucas Zito. They will be live at 1 o'clock.